Welcome back. Well, we have a pretty interesting discussion lined up for you next. It stems from a report that Nuvama recently came out with on the alco-bev sector. Times are good, consumption has been rising, and we are in the peak of the festive, followed by the wedding, followed by the year-end sort of a party season. So what are trends like? Well, we have Abneesh Roy, Executive Director at Nuvama, joining in. In a bit, we'll get in a perspective from a manufacturer as well. Som Distilleries is going to be with us to take the conversation forward. But Abneesh, first to you. I mean, it was a very interesting note that caught our eye. And I want to start off with something that really stood out for me in the Q2, reporting season. That while we're talking about higher consumption because of World Cup and, the festive season, etc., United Spirits kind of sounded off a little bit of a caution, saying that they're seeing some slowdown in demand itself. Your take on that? Let's start there, talk about the key takeaways from the second quarter and discuss the demand outlook.
Sure, thanks. Definitely your point is valid that in Q2, first time United Spirits highlighted that there is a slowdown which is visible, initial signs of slowdown. But in our view, beer industry should still do well, and even United Spirits and other players should see decent growth. What we see is in Q3, there are 35 lakh weddings starting tomorrow in the next 3-4 weeks. So that obviously what we are picking up versus pre-COVID, the wedding spends in terms of spirits, beer, etc., that is now fully back to normal. So that should help. Also in the Cricket World Cup, definitely we did see that the consumption went up. Between spirits and beer, if you see pre-COVID, generally beer was growing faster because a lot of the youth, when they enter this category, every year 2 crore kind of population is entering this category, beer and spirits. But what we saw pre-COVID was beer was growing faster because there was an inclination to start with the healthier option. And globally also, if you see, beer is much bigger than spirits. India, obviously, taxation for beer and spirits is not the way the world is seeing. But now what we see is going ahead, the beer should grow faster from a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year time frame. Even in Q2, if you see, United Breweries saw 10% kind of a volume growth in the premium and 7% growth. Also, we expect margin expansion for United Breweries to continue for the next 4 quarters because the lower priced inventory of barley will kick in, and glass cost should benefit both United Spirits and United Breweries.
Abneesh, I loved how you said beer is the healthier option. That's an interesting way to put it. Gentlemen, Mr. Arora, welcome to the discussion as well. I'll just request you to hold on for 1 second because we have some big news flashing on the screen. And it seems that Sam Altman is going to return to OpenAI as CEO. Rima, this spins so fast, so quickly every hour that I'm struggling to keep up.
This is like a Bollywood movie, right? It started on Friday with the surprise ouster of Sam Altman. And then over the weekend, there were so many negotiations. He decided to join Microsoft. Satya Nadella, said that, come join us and become the head of our AI arm. Then there was this mass exodus threat by the employees of OpenAI if Sam Altman is not back. And since then, there have been hectic negotiations between the board members, the investors, and Sam Altman to come back at OpenAI. There have been so many twists and turns. And finally, maybe, I think the story, the storm may have ended, and this story would now come to an end with Sam Altman now back at OpenAI. I think the only question that remains is, what about those governance changes, right? Because one of his preconditions, which was reported, that he had set out when asked whether you'll go back, he's like, he wants those governance changes. And even Satya Nadella had spoken about
I think there was something very, very telling about Meera Murthy's tweet. She was the interim CEO who was brought in when Sam was ousted. And she went on, social media and said that OpenAI is nothing without its people. And I remember seeing that tweet. It was liked with a heart sign by Sam. And I think there was a lot happening, behind the scenes, behind those tweets. And who knows? I think this is looking forward to building a strong partnership with Microsoft. Looking forward to returning to OpenAI. So yes, this is happening. It seems the man is back, indeed.
The man is back, and the drama perhaps has ended surrounding OpenAI. But let's continue our conversation with Abneesh, and in a bit we'll invite J.K. Arora of Som Distilleries on the show. Abneesh, you were making the point about how this could be a good season. Let's talk, you spoke about the volumes. Let's talk about the margins. You believe margins are bottoming out. Can you tell us why? And in the various categories?
Sure, right. That's a good question. We expect beer companies, the margin should bottom out because even in Q2, if you see sequential recovery had happened for United Breweries, but YOY still there was a pressure. But now going ahead, what will happen is the lower priced inventory of barley will kick in. Last few quarters, because of the Ukraine crisis, the barley cost globally had gone up and the inventory was also on the higher side. But on the other hand, for spirits companies, because of the MSP hikes and generally the rice crop this year is a bit short versus demand, the broken rice is used as a raw material for spirits companies. So ENA will be inflationary. So we have again a clear preference for beer companies versus a spirits company from a relative basis. But both companies, both sectors should see benefit from glass cost. Slight correction from Q4. No major correction, but slight correction can happen.
Company margins have not bottomed out just yet because of ENA inflation, the rice inflation.
Beer companies, it has bottomed out. Yeah, beer companies.
Spirit?
Spirits, no. We expect that slightly inflation.
Okay, gentlemen, stay on with us. We'll continue the discussion. Need to take a very quick break and we'll get some perspective from Mr. J.K. Arora as well on the other side.
Welcome back. In conversation with Abneesh and Mr. J.K. Arora, chairman of Som Distilleries, to talk about the demand, the margin outlook for the alcohol beverage sector in the second half of the year. Mr. Arora, morning. This is Rima here. Abneesh was just telling us, right, that demand is picking up, particularly for the beer category. There are 3.5 million weddings slated to take place between 23rd November to 15th of December. Can you talk about how demand has been for you in Q3? Q2 was strong for you, but can you sustain that run rate? Any numbers you can help us with for the second half?
Yeah, demand, I think, on both sectors, on beer and IMFL, both is improving now, this thing. Since the things have settled and people's approach now is like this, earlier, before COVID, generally the approach was, spend some and save something. But after COVID, I think most of the people have now approached that as if there is no tomorrow. So people have started spending more on travel, on the holidays, on vacations, drinks, food, all these sectors. This is so the most disadvantaged industries where one of the liquor industry was there. Now the most advantage has come to these sectors like aviation, tourism.
Mr. Arora, it is really showing up in your numbers. That's exactly the data that I was looking at. Mangalam had helped us with the historical data. And for viewers' reference, I want to point this out. FY20, before COVID hit us, the company's revenues were 460 crores. FY23, it was 800 crores. We're talking about, revenues pretty much doubling post-COVID. And I'm guessing this year is also being strong. So, Mr. Arora, just tell us this. We were discussing with Abneesh as well about the way margins are moving. I mean, for you, over a 3-4 year period, margins have gone up. But if I look at Q2 and compare that with Q2 of last year, then there's a slight deceleration. So talk to us about margins in both the segments, beer and IMFL, and also some idea of revenue growth. I mean, you closed FY23 at 800 crores. How strong may FY24 be?
We are having a very steady growth. If you look at only the profit side, last year for the first half of this thing, this was about 48 crores. Now it is last year it was 33. Now it is a 48 crores. Almost 80% growth is in the profit. So this thing, and same time, if you look at the volume also, in our case, the initial guidance was that we will do 1,000 crore this year. But I'm sure that we will cross 1150 or maybe reach up to the 1,200 crores. So on both sides, on the turnover and the profit, both are looking bright, I think, for this.
Okay, so you're saying revenues this year are poised to hit 1150 to 1,200 crore rupees, which compares with about 800 crore that you did last year. with demand only accelerating. Sir, you've got the permission to expand your capacity. You've got the permission from the Excise Department for capacity expansion at Hassan plant. Can you tell us about this? How much will your capacity go up by? When will it come on stream? And what will be the incremental revenues?
You see, earlier our capacity is one of the biggest breweries, is 1 million cases per month. Now the permission we got is the 1.5 million cases, means 15 lakh cases we are going to produce now. And the expansion is already on the way, and by March we hope to complete it. This thing. So next financial year, full advantage of this expansion will come. So almost 50% capacity will go up, and we are already short of capacity even at this off season. So we hope to do well. I think we will utilize the capacity in totality.
Okay, we have more questions, but running out of time. So I'll just quickly toss it back to Abneesh for last one. Abneesh, help us out in terms of stocks. Then I'm not sure if SOM is something that you cover or not, but overall, since you're expecting margins to bottom out in the beer space at least, what would the call be? If someone wants to take fresh exposure to the alco-bev space, and there's also wines, when we didn't discuss Sula, of course, what would your top picks be?
So yes, we like the sector from longer term perspective. So United Breweries clearly is our top idea in the sector from a 1 year perspective. Even United Spirits from a 2-year perspective makes a lot of sense because UK FTA trade agreement will happen over that time frame. It has been delayed, and we do expect margin expansion even for spirits company over a 2-year time frame because glass cost is currently high, and there'll be more state level hikes. A lot of premiumization is happening by all the players. Even SOM has done a very decent job in Karnataka, etc. United Spirits has come out with tequila products. So a lot of diversification in product portfolio also. So overall space is good. The risk remains in terms of the state level intervention in terms of route to market change and tax hikes. But we do expect in Maharashtra, beer industry should see positive news in terms of tax reduction or other measures in Maharashtra. That is one key state where the beer consumption is still lower than the pre-COVID level. So we see that annually getting corrected.
Mr. Arora, Abneesh, thank you very much for joining in and giving us a comprehensive review on what's happening in the liquor industry. Get into a break. On the other side, we'll come back with more on the markets.